I learned how to upload blade styles and sound fonts to my LGT Proffie Lightsaber, and I'm going to show you how to do it today on Darth Rage Reviews.
Evacuate? In our moment of triumph? I think you overestimate their chances.
Greetings, Force fans, and welcome to another episode of Darth Rage Reviews, your source for the Force. Welcome aboard, guys. I hope you guys are having a great week. As always, please give me a subscribe if you haven't, and give me a like if you haven't. Like and subscribe. I'll be your new best friend. I promise. I promise. So today, guys, we're talking Profi board. We're talking how to upgrade, how to update, how to upload blade styles and sound fonts to your Profi board lightsaber, specifically to your LGT Profi board lightsaber. I spent weeks agonizing over this, went through a lot of the hiccups. I'm going to walk you guys through the steps today. This is going to be as brief as I can make it, and hopefully after all is said and done, you guys will be able to follow these instructions, and you will also be able to do what I've done. So, a couple things you are going to need off the bat. You will need a data micro USB cord, a data micro USB. So not just a charging one, it has to be a data cable. And the way you can tell it's a data cable is it's got the two slits at the top of it. These little two kind of things that are right at the top there. Go to Best Buy, get a data USB cable. You'll need that to hook up to the lightsaber itself. You're also going to need a micro USB card reader, like so. And this is in order to load the sound fonts onto your saber. So the blade styles and the operating system are stored on the card itself. The sound fonts are stored on an SD card that is located on the Profi board itself. So it's an SD card that's right in there. So you will need an SD card reader in order to load new sound fonts onto this. I mean, technically you wouldn't need it. You could still just utilize the sound fonts that you already have on there and upload new blade styles if you wanted to. But if you want new sound fonts, you'll need an SD card reader in order to do that. So those are the two pieces of equipment: a micro SD data cable and a micro SD card reader. Both of these can be purchased at Best Buy for $15, a piece. So those out of the way, we're going to need a couple pieces of software that I'm going to walk you guys through as well. And I'm going to walk you guys through kind of some of the hiccups and some of the other little problems that you might run into along the way, as well as kind of where you get your config file. So I'm going to switch the setup around here so you guys can take a look at the laptop while I'm going through all this. And I'll put links in the description to all of these sites so you guys can just click, go there, download what you need. Because basically you're going to need two pieces of software. You're going to need Arduino and Zadig. You're going to need to download the latest version of the operating system for Profi. And then you're going to need to find your config file that's going to be located on that SD card. So flip this around and guys, take you through the process. All right? Very, very simple. I promise. All right, guys, so the first thing you are going to want to download is the Profi operating system. There is a link in the description to this. I would recommend downloading the latest version because you can do the coolest things with the latest version. So I would download version 5.9. You click on that, it brings up an exec file and download it. I put it right on my desktop just because it's easiest to find it right there. So download Profi 5.9, link there. The two next pieces that you're going to need are Arduino, and there's a link here to a GitHub page with basically links to both the next two, which is Arduino. So when you click on this page, it's going to bring this up. You scroll down here to the Arduino plugin for Profi board, and you click on that and download it and install it. You want to hang on to this information because you are going to need to add this piece of information as an additional board manager in the URL in Arduino when you get it installed. So Arduino, but you need to hang on to this piece of information right there as well. The next piece of software you're going to need is Zadig. Zadig is right here. You click on that. You don't actually have to install it. It just has to hang out on your computer. So boom, click on that. Everything's done for this. So these are the three pieces of equipment you're going to need. The OS, the operating system for Profi board, so you can put that onto your new Saber when you load it onto the Saber. Arduino is the program that actually lets you put together the config file and tell the Saber what to do. And Zadig is what Arduino uses to communicate with the board itself. So those are the three pieces of software that you will need. Download those, get them all installed in your computer, and make sure that they're up and running. Keep in mind that on mine, again, Arduino does seem like it takes forever to load when you turn it on. Sometimes it takes it 10-15 minutes for me to load, so don't freak out if you pull it up and it's not responding. Just give it some time, it will respond. Zadig, another problem I found is that when I open it up to actually do what it's supposed to do, flash this board and create an empty palette, if you will, for your Saber, 50-50. It's a 50-50 shot that it works, but you close it out, open it back up, and it will work. But sometimes it takes 2 or 3 times to do that. So just know that Zadig can also run into some problems with that as well. So get Zadig downloaded, get Arduino downloaded. You have the operating system downloaded. Those are the pieces of software that you are going to need. Next, I would suggest going to FET263's Profi board website. And I'm not going to give you guys any kind of instructions on how to use this site, what to do with this site. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. When you pull the site up, it'll automatically pull up this pop-up, and you're going to want to close out of that pop-up. And then I would again suggest, because you downloaded the operating system 5.9, you go to the main OS styles over here that is 5.6 or later. You want that, highest one. When you click on that, it'll pull up the pop-up again. Simply close out of that pop-up once it comes up. And again, FET's site sometimes is a little bit laggy, but don't worry about it. Give it time. This is the most fun for me, this part of it. Is getting on this site and playing around with these Bladestyles. And again, I'm not going to give you guys a whole lot of instruction on this. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and you can have a whole lot of fun. So he breaks it all down, starts with a standard lightsaber blades. Yeah, it's actually, there we go. Then you get Cal Kestis's lightsaber styles. You've got the second sister from Fallen Order, hump flicker blades. You scroll down, you've got fire blades, you've got Kylo Ren's unstable, several different versions, erratic blades, rainbow blades, any kind of blade that you want. It's got a base style for it, and a really easy way to kind of get in, upgrade, and change a lot of the stuff that they make available for it. So whole lot of fun here. This, again, spend about 30 minutes on it and you'll pretty much get what it's about and kind of how to use it. I don't feel like it needs a whole lot of explanation in here. All right, so those are the programs that you need to know. The programs you need to download and the page that becomes very, very helpful in creating the Bladestyles. So there you have Bladestyles. The next piece of this is soundfonts. So soundfonts, there are plenty of free places to get soundfonts, but there are tons and tons of really quality soundfonts out there. Everything you want, from specific Jedi or Sith to just silly soundfonts that are out there. Do your research. There are lots of places to get them, lots of places to buy them, but you want to make sure you have soundfonts that you want before you get this process started. I've got all of mine saved in a folder called Profi Soundfonts, and they're inversely saved on the SD card on my board as well. So you're going to want to grab all the sound fonts that you want, purchase them if you are wanting purchased fonts, or find the free ones that are out there, and get all of those sound fonts, kind of keep them in one place just for easy use later. All right, so next up, I'm going to show you guys kind of what you do when you physically hook the board up, take it apart, and show you kind of what the pieces parts look like and what the process is from here. So I'm going to flip the computer back around and take you guys through this process. All right, so we've pulled out the micro SD card off the Saber. This is where the sound fonts are stored, and I've already added all the sound fonts that I've wanted in here, but this is also where you are going to find your config file that you need to use in order to build this new Saber that you want. So on this, if you scroll down, you'll see a file called stored config. You double click on that, and that brings up this LGT Pixel H. If you double click on that and open it up, boom, you have, this is what a config file looks like. So a whole lot of stuff up here that really isn't going to apply to you much. And then all this stuff down here. So this top part here is kind of what tells you what's going on here with this Saber. So if you notice, it's got right here this hashtag define number of blades 1, hashtag define number of buttons 2. So there's a problem here in that this is a 1-button Saber, not a 2-button Saber. So in order to get this config to look the way I wanted to, I had to change that button to a 1. All this other stuff down here does not change at all. But in order to do some of the cool new effects with the motion effects and things like that, thrust on and twist off, you need to add some stuff to this as well. So let me, again, this is what you want to start with, and I would do a file save as. So you want this to save as and name it something that you're going to remember. You know, like for example, the one that I'm working off here is called Darth Rage Reviews. Very, very simple to remember. You want to save it as. Now it's a notepad here, but it is a .h. So when you save this as, it's probably going to save it as a, it may save it as a .h, but it may save it as a .txt. You just want to go in and change that to a .h file. So save it again somewhere that you're going to remember, that you can play around with, and then I'll show you eventually where you want to put that. So I'm going to open up my config file that I'll be working on here, and that is right there, Darth Rage Reviews H Notepad. So if you see up here, this part up here is my actual begin config file. So the parts that you need to worry about. And again, I'm going to leave this up here so you guys can kind of see what it is. But the parts you need to worry about: number of blades, 1. Number of buttons, 1, unless this is a 2-button Saber. This volume is set at 1550. Found that 1550 works really well for these speakers that they have in these Sabers. So number of buttons 1, 1550. None of this other stuff is going to change right here. However, when you get down here, this is what you want it to look like. You want to enable audio, enable motion, enable W2, let's say whatever that is. So let me pull up the other one. This is the LGT Pixel H. So it's got all of these already in it. The one that you've got, that audio, motion, WS2811, and SD, followed by that hashtag end if. You want to add enable serial, color change direct, this stock gesture recognition, SA22C thrust on, SA22C twist off. So all of this stuff here you want to add in. I'm going to actually put this, I will cut and paste this into the description of this as well. So this would be the top for a 1-button config. This is what you want the top of it to look like. Then this right here, everything down here is already built for you. all the way down to the bottom here. Sorry, very long. And then down here again. So you're going to have to do a little change to this part as well, I believe. Hold on, let me compare them and see. So the bottom of this one. Let's see, power pin 2, blade pin 3, presets, in-def, button, power button. Yeah, okay, so this right here. Power button pin, POW, in-def. So on the config that's on your saber, it's got this button, aux button. Again, if you are working with a one-button saber, you're going to want to take that out. So that button doesn't exist in this, so it's going to look like this. Just button, power button. You take out the whole thing with the aux button. And if you change that in the top from the 2 to 1 and change this in the bottom right here, then that will fix and basically turn this config file into a one-button config file config. So you now have your basic config file that you are going to start creating your fonts with. And this looks like a whole lot of really confusing information, but it is really, really simple when you get down to it. So you're not going to mess with anything except for 3 simple parts in here. So between the quotations here, this right here is the font folder that it is referencing this font to pull from. So again, if I pull up my font folders, these are all the names of the fonts that I have on here. So basically, I am telling this first font to pull from this folder, ESB Graphics, and it will then pull all the sound effects from the folder that I have there. This tracks right here is also, so this is the music that plays with it. Don't have to have it if you don't want it, but if you do, everything is stored in a tracks folder on your saber. And that's all my tracks. Now you can store the tracks in the individual font folders if you want. That will just require another name here and another slash, but I find it easier just to keep them all in the same thing. So again, this is the music. It's pulling the Luke versus Vader track from that, and it's pulling the sound from this. If I wanted to change this to a different sound font, all I would have to do is take the name of the sound font. So let's say I wanted this to be the Scavenger's Destiny instead of ESB Graphics. I would just click on this, copy that, and then paste it into here. Boom. I've now changed this sound font, all the effects and everything that go with it, from the ESB Graphics to the Scavenger's Destiny sound font. Let me change that back because I do actually want it to be the ESB Graphics. So we'll go back and change that to the ESB Graphics. Again, you want it the exact name on there because otherwise it won't read it. But it's very, very simple. We'll keep the tracks and everything the same. All right, so we've got the Luke saber there. This and this are parts 1 and 2 of what you would change to change the fonts, the sound fonts, or to change the music. Everything else here, this down to here, is your blade style. So let's say we wanted to create a new blade style for this ESB Graphics Luke versus Vader wave. So we know it's the Luke Graphics, so I want it to be a blue style, but let's pick a new one and let's create it right here, and I'm going to show you guys how easy it is. So we'll go back up to the top of FET's site and let's get the standard lightsaber blade. And you want to come down here to Get Style Code, and you click on Get Style Code. We want this to be a blue, but let's actually go the deep sky blue instead of the Jedi blue. And we want to, we're only doing a one blade saber. So all we need, we've got no crystal chamber and we've got no second or third blade, so we don't need any of that. All we need is the blade, main blade info. We're going to click on Customize Enhance. From here, this pulls up a standardized site that you're going to then pull everything from. So, let me turn this light off so you guys can see this a little better. So, right here, first off is the Preon effect. This font does not have a Preon on it. A Preon is pre-ignition, so basically before it comes on, sometimes you can do some cool effects in there. This doesn't have one, so I'm not going to have anything in there. For ignition effects, so you can do a standard ignition, a spark tip ignition, cycle up, and it will actually, the question mark here will explain what all the differences are on there. I'm just going to do a cool little spark tip extension. It kind of gives it a little brightness when you light it up. And we want the ignition time to be 300, which is the standard ignition time. You can make it quicker or faster or slower, really, really simply. Power up effect. Let's say we wanted it to do a pilot light ignition. So this is kind of the effect that Rey's saber has at the end of the last Star Wars movie, where it goes green, blue, and then ignites to the yellow. So from the emitter, this would give that same kind of effect. What the heck? Let's add it in. Retraction options, we're going to keep everything standard there. No cooldown effect. That means after the font's over, it would actually do something on the emitter. I don't want that. I don't want a post-off effect. So for the lockup, we're going to go a responsive mid-blade lockup, and we want it to be a localized clash. And then to end the transition, we're going to dissipate it through the blade. A lightning block effect, we're going to keep everything else standard here. These are just standard effects, nothing changing there. And then we're going to click right here onto Get Style. When you do that, you're going to see that it copies everything to your clipboard. I click OK. And then I have a notepad here that is untitled. And I'm going to simply paste everything that I just got to this pad right here. Occasionally you're going to see some spaces in this. You want to take any of those spaces out just by backspacing, and then you want to cut and paste everything of this. And if you notice, it starts with style and it ends with the forwards and ends bracket. So you want to copy all of that. Then you want to go into your config file, and it started at style, so you see its styles right there, and it went all the way down to 2 quotations. So you see after the 2 quotations there's that funky bracket and a comma. You want to highlight everything except for those. Then you're simply going to hit paste, and boom, I've just changed that blade style with that ESB Graflex font. Very, very simple. Okay, so I've gone through now and I've changed everything on all of these that I wanted to change. Let's say I've went through and changed these. You've got all the fonts in there that you want. You have all the blade styles in there that you want. You're ready to go. So then you want to file, save it, and what you want to save it as is a config file in, let me cancel this and show you where it is, in the actual operating system folder. So if you see over here, I have the Profi 5.9 operating system folder. There is only one thing you want to mess with in this, or 2 things. One, you're going to launch Arduino through this, but in here are where all of your config files are stored. So you pull open Profi OS, and right down there is a folder called config. So you are going to want to save this config file in here with all of these others. You see I've already got it saved in there, Darth Rage Reviews H. So I'm going to go back to that config file and file, save as, There it is, config, Darth Rage Review H. Save it right there. Already exists. Yes, I want to replace it. So my config file is now ready. So now comes the fun part. So this is the part that I probably had the most difficulty with, and this is the flashing and the prepping of your computer or your board in order to upload the software. So this part, again, don't get frustrated. I need to grab this other pin over here. Sorry for moving the computer screen. Don't get frustrated about this part. This is the part that was probably the most difficult for me to overcome. So you've loaded Arduino and you've loaded Zadig onto your computer. So the first thing you are going to need to do is to open up Zadig and flash the drive of your board. Flash your board in order to get it ready to store things. So your micro USB was hooked up into your Profi port there. Your SD card is back in your Saber. The SD card is right underneath there. Profi micro USB into the Profi port and hooked up into your computer. And you pull open Zadig. Get these out of the way. So it says, do you want to allow it? Always click yes on that. So when you open it up again, 2 out of 3 times, it may not load correctly the first time. So under here, you want to go up to Options, and you're going to want to list all devices. And then down here, you are looking for a, what's it called? USB serial, I think it is. So it's not going to show up off the bat. So what you're going to need to do is flash your board. In order to flash your board, there are 2 gold tabs. So if you're holding the board this way with the port going out that way, you've got these 2 tabs here and there. And you're going to need to press the top one here first, and then press and release the bottom one. It will flash the drive, and hopefully it will recognize it up here. So this is a very frustrating process. I like to use just these little Allen wrenches that come with the sabers and kind of brace it because it's a little bit slippery. Press one, press the other. Gives a little boot sound on there, and then down here it is not on there yet, of course. So like I said, 2 out of 3 times this is not going to work the first time. Close it out, open it back up, and once again we want to go to Options, list all devices, flash the drive, and put there, try it again. And once again, it's not there, but try one more time like this. So again, one more time, we're going to open it up. And again, like I said, this can get frustrating. I don't want you guys to lose faith in it because this is just how it goes. But the cool thing is once you do get it hooked up, you don't have to do it again unless you kind of restart your Arduino. And why aren't you showing up? There it is. So you're looking for this right here, STEM32 bootloader. So click on STEM32 bootloader, and then you click on reinstall driver. And trust me, it's going to look like it froze up, and it's going to stop, and it's going to act like it's freezing. And then you click on reinstall driver again, and it says it's not responding. Then it will kick in here in a second, and it'll tell you that it's installing the driver. Again, don't get frustrated. This is going to happen where it looks like it's not working, it looks like it's not working, it looks like it's not working. All of a sudden it works. You give this a second, and you see it pops up, it's installing the driver. And once this is done, you no longer need to have Zadig open, so you can just close Zadig. Driver was installed successfully, close out of that. All right, next step, you are going to now go back into the Profi 5.9 that is installed on your desktop if you want it, or wherever it is. Pull open the Profi folder and scroll down until you see this Eno right here, Profi OS Eno. And you're going to want to double click on that, and that opens up Arduino. I've already got Arduino opened, so I didn't want to have to wait for that whole process of opening Arduino. So it is up, it is ready to go. So first things first, you're going to need to go down to Preferences, File Preferences. And you remember that website that I told you about. Come on. And now Arduino's going to, there we go. So the website that I told you about, you need to add that URL right down here to where it says Additional Boards Managers URL. Profi Zorn, Get Home, Arduino, boom, boom, boom. That's right off of that website. Cut and paste that and click OK. You need that in there, or else none of this will work. Next up, go to Tools over here. And you want to, right here, Boards Manager. It's not going to have the Profi board on there, so you need to go to the Boards Manager, search Profi board, and download that to your website, or to your Arduino. Very, very simple process. Boards Manager, download it. Pretty much everything else is going to stay the same. So you want USB serial plus mass storage here. This SD card, you want to have that clicked. Computer speed, 80 millihertz. And then you want to optimize for the smallest code. Nothing else are you going to mess with. These things all should be in there, but if they're not, just make sure that those are all good to go. Next up, you need a port. So if you notice, I've got no port listed here. This was the second place I ran into a whole lot of problem. I didn't realize that basically when this comes up, all you have to do once again is flash the board. So the same thing you did under Zadig, you do it here, and it should then recognize your port. Let's see if it did it. I don't know if I flashed it or not. Not yet. All right, so this is the second part that is very, very frustrating, but stick with it. Okay. So I flashed the board there, and now if you look, my Profi board port is up. So those two things, those two parts right there, the Zadig part and that part right there, literally took me 2 weeks to work through. So, config file is ready. The Arduino is ready. It recognizes the board. The board is ready. Everything is ready to go. So what do we need to do in order to load this config file on here? So right down here, you have this hashtag defined. When you pull this open, it's going to have all of this. You don't mess with any of this stuff up here, but all of this is already going to be in there. Right down here, this very first line, so any of these backslashes, this basically means ignore. So you can have as many config files in here loaded, pre-ready to go, and all you have to do is get rid of the backslashes in front of one of them, and it will then load that config file. So what I want to do is this very first one here that doesn't have the slashes, this is what you're telling the board to read. So I want this to be my new Darth Phoenix, or sorry, not Darth Phoenix. Darth Phoenix is what I had in there. I want this to be my new Darth Rage config file right in there. So you need to make sure that they are labeled the exact same thing. So what I like to do is pull open the config folder, and then I pull the one that I want, click on it a second time, it highlights all that, and then I cut it, and you're going to paste it right into here past the slash. So I'm now changing that to Darth Rage Reviews.h. Okay, everything's ready to go. We now need to check the config file and make sure there are no errors. You click on this button right here, and then it's going to scroll through and hopefully not take too long, and then tell me if there are any errors in the config file. Again, very simple process. Once you guys get this up and running one time, there's going to be some hiccups the first couple times, but there's plenty of resources to walk you through kind of where those problems could be. Let me turn this light off again so you can once again see what we've got going on. You see it's compiling the sketch right here. You got the progress bar right there. So if everything goes well, we're going to get a whole lot of orange text up here, and then a little white line on the bottom that's going to tell us how much of the storage it is actually using in this lightsaber. And again, this whole process typically only takes a couple minutes. Usually I'll do this, set this, go do something, come back to it, set it to load, go do something, come back to it. You see it's getting very close here. And again, that's all of this right here. Everything that I've got up top here is meaningless except for that top line. Another problem that I ran into here when I first started doing it is that I did not have this lined up correctly. I had this actually starting over here, and little things like that can make a difference, so make sure that this hashtag is lined up with all these other hashtags down here. Little details in this. It's computer programming basically. So little small details can make a huge difference. Make sure to pay attention to those. So getting very close here. This is the fun of lightsabers, lightsabers, lightsabers. All right, so as you see now, we're getting a whole lot of orange text right here. Don't be scared. Even though we've got warnings over here, this is all typical. We are almost there. I do just kind of want to, I'm not going to stop this because I want to show you guys real time how long it takes to do this. It's really not difficult at all. All right. So as you can see down here, the sketch uses this much. It's 89% of my program storage space. This white line means we are ready to load the font. So right there, that arrow right there is upload. All you gotta do is click it. So you click this and it's gonna go through that same process that we did before. It's gonna start compiling the sketch, and this time it will give you a progress bar along the bottom, and it'll start kind of counting up the progress. And then we will be ready to go. And again, I'm going to leave this running because I want you guys to see how long this process takes. It really does not take a long time once you get it up in there. That's also what she said. And again, I encourage you guys, you know, if you guys are trying this and you're having issues with this, you know, hit me up. There may be some issues that I didn't cover here that I do know the answer to, but also, you know, find the Profi board websites out there, or the Facebook groups. There's tons and tons and tons of places out there where you can find the help that you need. Again, this is specific to this LGT saber that I have. I didn't see any kind of how to do it on an LGT saber, so I wanted to put this video together. And then if this all goes well, we're going to load this up, and then we're going to take a look at that very first font that we created, the blade style that we created for the Luke font, just so you guys can see what it looks like with everything that we put together. All right, so we're getting ready to load here. So this went through all those other program, or the same, you know, warnings that we had before, and it tells you how much space it's using. And then we're getting ready to start to have a progress bar on the bottom there as it loads it. You can see right there is the progress bar, and it's just spitting it out. So I want to show you just the final message, what it's going to say when everything is ready to go, just so you know what to look for. Because a lot of times you'll just kind of set this and leave your computer. So I want you guys to see what you come back to, what it's going to look like when you are successful. Yeah, man, the first time you do this, guys, it's a good feeling. It's like having children, only better. Of course I kid. Getting very close there, so you can see we're at 98, 99, 100%. So the saber made a little sound there, and it says right there, transitioning to DF something manifest state. File downloaded successfully. So when you get this message, you're done, guys. You can unhook your saber, put it back together, and you're good to go. So I'm going to switch the setup one more time, jump back on the other side. We'll put this saber back together, and we'll take a look at the blade style we've got. All right, guys, we're back. Saber is put back together, and we're going to see what that blade looks like that we created. It was a real simple blade, just a blue standard flicker, the little spark tip up, localized flash on clash in the middle that dissipates. So turn it on and we'll see. So see if the flash, a little center lockup, dissipates out across the whole blade. Very, very simple. It was that easy, guys. We updated that blade style just like that. So hopefully I did not make that seem too confusing. You guys understood the process of what you're doing with the sound fonts, with the blade styles, with the programs that you need, Arduino and Zadig. And basically, I hope I gave you a good overview of the entire process of uploading blade style and a sound font to your LGT Proffie Lightsaber. So if you guys have questions, please let me know in the comments. I will help where I can. Maybe you run into some problems that I've had. Maybe you've run into some problems that I haven't had. Let me know. Be glad to help. As always, guys, if you enjoyed this content, please give me a like, give me a subscribe, spread the word out there. As always, I am Darth Rage. This is Darth Rage Reviews, your source for the Force.
I felt a great disturbance in the Force, as if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced.